It's not showing.
Hi, and welcome to the Bookkeepers Podcast. I'm Zoe Whitman. I'm here with Joe Wood. Hey, Joe, how are you doing?
Hi, Zoe. Yeah, I'm good, thanks. You?
Oh, I'm all right. You're losing your voice, aren't you?
It's coming back. It's coming back. It is in and out. I think every household has got coughs and colds and sickness going on at the moment, haven't they, in the run up to Christmas?
Oh, we've definitely all had it. And I think everybody that we speak to this week has said, oh, there's something going around for them. So if you're watching this, thanks for watching this live, because we also know that lots of you we're getting all the out of office messages today. And we know that everyone is taking a break already. But you're here, you're committed, you're watching the Bookkeepers Podcast, and it's the last one before Christmas, obviously.
It is.
Well, what a year.
I know. I can't. Isn't it so lovely to? I think it's very nice seeing all these out of offices, because it means that people are going to actually take a break. So and it seems, and so if you're here, please let us know you're here in the comments. Let us know. But are you going to have a break, Zoe? Are you going to have a break over Christmas?
I am. Do you know what? I think my kids are so young, I can't not have a break. I'm really excited because they are so excited, you wouldn't believe. We've had all of the nursery concerts, the carol thing, the school fair, all of that. And my daughter's had a bug this week, so she's actually just gone into school today for her Christmas dinner. So mine is still at school until the end of this week, which is really pushing it, but it means we've got a really long break in January. And I think the thing is, when you're at home with the little ones, you can't get a lot done. We know what that's like. So I'm going to take a break, and it's going to be great. There's definitely stuff I want to be in touch with the business, but I want to take a break as well. How about you?
Absolutely. I am definitely feeling that my inbox is getting quieter. I'm just chipping away at a few things. I think the last thing I have on is I'm doing a session with Ashley Leeds for LinkedIn midday, and it's going to be just a fun session on Friday, and then I am done. And I'm starting to look at my Zoom. When I log into Zoom, I'm like, oh, my next meeting is next year, which is nice and very exciting too. So I'm looking forward to having some downtime. I think we all need it, and that time to just sit and reflect. A couple of the conversations we've been having today, Zoe, just kind of has been, what have we done this year? What have we achieved this year? And I think sometimes we move with the new year too quickly into what's the plan, what's the goal, and I think we really need to do that. But I think it's also very important to reflect and think, what have we achieved this year? What did we set out to do at the beginning of 2022, and actually what's happened? Because for us, it's been a complete whirlwind, isn't it?
I think so. And even if you just rewind, Joe and I have been such grown-up business owners today. We've been looking at our KPIs, and I think even if you rewind and you look at, I wonder if I can bring anything up right while I'm thinking about it now. Where were we when we were at the end of last year? Just thinking about, I don't know, the Facebook community, for example, Figure Bookkeepers Club. At the beginning of January 2022, so almost a year ago, there were 4,500 members of the Facebook group, and we're nearly 11,000 members now. And I think that just shows how much this community's grown, how much I hope we've supported this community in coming together. And obviously that's had an impact on what we've done and how we've done things. And yeah, so much has changed. It's been a really massive year, and we forget to look back and reflect on that, because we think it's always been like this because it's just what we're used to. But we quite often say to ourselves, we often say to people, you've got so much to share with somebody who's a step behind you. And I think that's the benefit of bringing lots of bookkeepers together into a community where we can all share and support each other. We know so much from our journey, and we don't give ourselves credit for that because we forget how much we've actually achieved because we don't take the time to look back and realize it.
And isn't it always the case? I mean, the amount of things, if I sat down and thought about the things that this year I've learned about MTD, okay, things are changing, but how much new knowledge I've taken on about that, and conversations I've had with clients that I've taken on that have been in different sectors that I've never dealt with, and maybe international VAT, or I don't know, learning new programs that we've had to integrate with to get them into zero. And I've trained my whole team on how to use Go Proposal, and how they're now producing proposals for me.
Wow.
If you really sit down and think about the change that's happened, I think it's really therapeutic, and it lifts you up. And then, because you hear that, don't you? People kind of overestimate what they can do in a day, but they underestimate what they can do in a year. And I think that's what the importance is of looking back and actually thinking, wow, did I actually set that as a goal? I didn't set that goal, but look what I've achieved. and realizing that we can actually move mountains in a year. And sometimes just if you sit and think, where was I at this time? Where was I on the 21st of December, 2021? What was going on? I mean, we had Omicron going on.
Mm-hmm.
I mean, we were back in like a semi-lockdown, weren't we? It was very, very, very different times. And thinking about what has gone on for you, maybe personally with your family, when you think back to your children at the age like a year ago, what their ages were, what maybe they were transitioning, and maybe they've started new schools or whatever it is that's happened. A lot has gone on. And so I'd really like it if you just sit down and just do a bit like us with the KPIs today. We just sat down, like looked at some numbers where things were back at that point. And it might be like, how many clients did you have back then? I mean, we did an exercise in our practice. We are looking at what our really big, hairy goal would be in 3 years' time and how would we get there. And the question I asked my sister was, what's the average spend per client? Now, the last time I looked at it, it was £342 a month was the average spend per client. And it's now £450. And I was like, I know that, but across 80 clients, that's a lot of money. That is a lot of, and that's because we've been working on those proposals and the repricing. And I was like, wow, I hadn't checked in with that KPI again. So yeah, I mean, and maybe you're sitting here thinking, I don't know any of those numbers, and that's absolutely fine. But what numbers could you capture today so that this time next year you can look back? Yeah. And that's what we've just really done, isn't it? Like, what are the numbers that we're interested in?
I think it's the power of what you just said about understanding what that movement has been for you in terms of that fee, the recurring fees, to know the difference, but then to be able to unpick that and say, well, okay, why has that changed? And what can I do more of that's going to help me to get more of that? I think you don't, until you sit down and do that analysis, you just can't know. I think our approach when we were thinking about KPIs, we got a new team member, we need to be able to measure performance against various things. And we were thinking, okay, what do we need to be measuring? Like, what are the things that are coming up for us? Obviously, there's going to be like numbers around like revenue, like you have in your practice, but what else about like our audience and our community and those kind of things? And then putting those things in place and just thinking, is this actually what we want to measure now? Or do we need to change this in some way? And what can we do once we got that information? So yeah, it's really exciting. And it's definitely an exercise. We've been talking about 90-day goal planning, and we've done a few different sessions with our members over the last month or the last couple of weeks, even just sort of saying like, this is what we can do if you're feeling overwhelmed, because this was something that came up and we were talking about on the podcast last week, and this is what you can do in terms of 90-day planning. We've done some sessions around that, but then what's the next? Actually, maybe the next step is to kind of look back a little bit and then use what you've learned to sort of build so you can take yourself into 2023. So yeah, it's fantastic.
And I think actually like today we're going to talk about selling through Facebook. So, I mean, you're all on Facebook because you're in a Facebook community, or you're on LinkedIn because you watch us through LinkedIn, or you're on YouTube, wherever your place is, that's a number there. How many Facebook friends do you have today? How many LinkedIn connections do you have today? They're the kind of numbers that we started off. Before I had an email list, before we had a community, you have numbers that you can measure. And I'm
going to say as well, just because I've got this in front of me, like for anyone who thinks that for some reason it's different for you because you haven't got a head start in some way, there are numbers on ours that say 0, like all-time listen, like with the podcast, all-time listens, 0. YouTube subscribers, we had 1 actually written on, and I think like it's okay to start from nothing. So don't ever feel disheartened, because the only way you can know if you're making progress is to start somewhere. So, and it's okay to say, well, it's nothing at the moment. I haven't got any followers or connections here. But then if you measure this in a month's time, that will have changed. And then you can think, well, how did those people come into my world? So it's okay.
It's exciting.
Yeah.
This is where we geek out.
Geeking out. So we wanted to talk to you today about selling through Facebook. I mean, obviously Facebook is this is how we started what we do. Jo finds a lot of clients using Facebook. And you might know that at the moment we're being coached by Meta as well. And so we wanted to share a little bit about what we've learned through going through that program, but also so that you can use that to help you with how you grow your own Facebook audience and what kind of things you can be sharing to help you build your audience and find more clients. Like, we really know this works, and Joe's had such success in being involved in various Facebook communities, and it just makes so much sense. So, and we get lots of questions about this. Like, we go back to basics all the time on Facebook, so we thought it'd be a really good conversation for a podcast. So, first question that comes up for us, Joe, all the time is whether you need to have a business page and what you should put on it. Do you have a business page for your practice?
I do, but it's kind of good because it's just called Joe Wood, but it is a page rather than a personal profile. So this is the first thing, that when you set up on Facebook, you can set up various different kind of ways to interact with people. And a page is set up initially because it is a business platform, but also if you're ever going to do any marketing through advertising through Facebook, you need to have a page. You can't advertise through a personal profile. So I think most people, when they join Facebook, they join with the personal profile, and absolutely that's what it's all about. It's all about communities and individuals and people getting together. So but when you have a business, I think it's really important to have that page. And I mean, I've got a page and it's called Joe Wood, but that's just because I've got two businesses. And so I can share on that page anything to do with either of them. But I would suggest having a business page, because you can kind of tag yourself, tag your business into things. You can also share things from your personal profile onto that page, and kind of vice versa. But it really is that kind of, you can say also you work at that business and tag that in your bio. So I do think you should have a business page, but how to utilize it, and there's lots of, I don't think you should interact with everybody through that all the time. It's good to have it there, and there's ways of using it, but I don't think it should be, when I open up my Facebook, I am me, and I go on my personal profile.
Yeah. Okay. So when we ran Bookkeepers Bootcamp a few weeks ago now, one of the big differentiations that we really need to get our head around was the idea of having a business brand and a personal brand. So having your kind of like the business and people getting to know your business, and then you being an individual and people getting to know you as a person. And I think this is where the differentiation is, isn't it, with like your Facebook page. Gary Vee, who you might know if you're in the sort of online marketing space, Gary Vee talks all the time about fan pages on Facebook. And I had to say, I was like, what do you mean by a fan page? It's a business page, but some people call them fan pages because I think like if you were like a musician or a celebrity or something, you might have a fan page. It's kind of the same thing. Think of it as like a fan page for your business if you want to. I love the idea that people might be fans of your business, but it's kind of like this like home on Facebook for your business to be. But if you were like engaging with people, your business doesn't do that, you do that. So it's like how you use these two. And I think this gets people really stuck, because when you come back to like, what do I post where and when, and what do I talk about, people are really stuck on how to use those two particular profiles in the right way. So you said, Joe, that you try and interact as yourself. If you're, so I see this as well in the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club, our free Facebook community, people usually join as themselves, as an individual through their personal profile, but we do also see people joining as their business, and that's okay if that's what you want to do. But really, we love to get to know the people behind the business. Like that helps us to get to know you and to support you. If you were joining a Facebook group, which is perhaps the next part of the conversation, are you joining as yourself or are you joining as your business?
100% me all the time. And to be honest, and you know, I'm thinking about this now, you know, like I say, my fan page is called Joe Wood because I'm trying to build a personal brand more than, do you see what I mean? So
yeah.
I didn't call it Joe Wood Virtual. I didn't call it Joe Wood Virtual FD. I called it Joe Wood because when I was told to do it, it was building that personal brand. And I do think it's more important now. You can, you know, I could set up a Joe Wood Virtual FD. And someone asked the question, is it linked to your personal profile? Is it completely separate? So when I go into Facebook, I can interact as Six Figure Bookkeeper, as Joe Wood, the business page, or as Joe Wood, the individual. So they're separate, but I'm connected to them all because I have the logins for them all, if that makes sense. Yeah. So I can choose how I'm interacting, but I always choose my personal profile unless I want to kind of broadcast something that is about the business. So if you had a business page, you could put on there something that maybe you've got a newsletter, or maybe you want to share some information about the business or MTD or VAT or self-assessment. Then you could share that on your business page. You could also then go onto your personal profile and share that content from your business page onto your personal profile. So you can share, they're very interactive. But if I want to give any opinions or comment or join a group or anything like that, it's always me as the individual.
Do you remember when we were running boot camp a few weeks ago, James Burt, who is the guy who does the podcasting, he came on and we were talking about like personal brand, and he was saying about how if you focus on people getting to know you for you, so building your personal brand, and he has lots of different projects going on, then what it means is you can go out and you can promote whatever it is that's happening in those different places. So Joe, for you, if people get to know you, Joe Wood, and then you start talking about Joe Wood Virtual FD, or you start talking about Six Figure Bookkeeper, they just know you as Joe Wood, and they're going to follow along with the different things you do. And I think that's why it's important for people to get to know you. But then going back to how you make sure your Facebook page works for you on Facebook, it's kind of having that kind of holding place, so that if people are like looking you up, like want to find out more about your business or how they can work with you or book a call or see a testimonial or a review or something about what you do, they've got this place that kind of collects all that information, and they can kind of see it like a bit like a shop window on Facebook.
And that's very important. Okay, so a bit like a shop window, you only see it when you're walking past. You have to be there. And the reach of a business page is not as good as your personal profile. So when I see people that spend all this time on their business page, they're not going to get the interactions. They're not going to get the reach, because that is there really as that shop front, and it's there to help you engage. But when you're paying through advertising, it's not there for that interaction, and because it knows it's a business, and Facebook want individuals to be there building communities, and business pages aren't there for that. So the reach on a business page is really shocking. So if you've spending loads of time there, it's going to be like pushing water uphill if you're trying to get interaction. And then people go, but I don't want to share it on my personal page. That's for me. And that's when people get scared and they feel more protected if they're doing things on a business page, but it's going to be a lot harder work.
That's really interesting. And one of the big things we've learned from conversations with Meta is, of course, one of their goals is around, and one of their values is around community, which is the same for us. So they're so much about bringing people together, not bringing businesses together. So that's why we've got to remember it goes back to the people behind the profile. What you just said about being afraid to share things through your personal profile, I remember we spoke to Sarah Twigg. Do you know, it might have been nearly a year ago now. We were talking to Sarah about Facebook, and because I know that when she started her practice at the beginning of 2022, is that right?
Yeah.
When Sarah started her practice, she very quickly got to capacity really quickly. Yeah. And it was because she was really focused on her Facebook strategy and how she would connect with people and engage with people. And she knew who her ideal client was, and she started putting content out and having conversations with people. And also she was very picky about who her clients were in a really good way as well. So she wasn't just taking any clients, she was taking the clients who were right for her and for her business. But I remember what Sarah said was she actually set up a separate profile, which she would use. So it wasn't her usual Facebook profile that she'd been using for years and years and years. She started a new Facebook profile so that she could start from fresh, and so that she could connect with people who would be leads, like potential clients for her business, so that she could just build her Facebook profile, personal profile around that. And I think that was really smart. And if you're feeling like, because there are lots of settings and privacy things you can change, but I think if you want to just kind of start again, then that was a good way for her to be able to do it. Because a lot of people don't want to post as well, because they're like, oh, my mum and my cousins don't want to see about that and all that kind of thing. So if you're worrying about that, that can work.
Yeah, but I do have some things to say about that, because I feel, there's been multiple times, like I've been very honest, that I've failed in business and done some, I went into network marketing and sold aloe vera for a year in like 2015. And I had some people go, what is it that you do now? And, but also I've got my family and people that I went to school with and all of that. And do you know what? Now they're the people I get recommendations from. I had a message in my inbox yesterday from a cousin's friend your cousin told me that you do this, and can you help me out? Like, I think our family and friends, if they understand what it is that we do, would love to support us and help us. Now, it might not come about straight away, and it might not happen in the first year of business. I've been in business for many, many years, and maybe, and if our messaging is wrong, or we're not explaining to people what it is that we do, then they can't help us. But I get a load of recommendations from people that are on my Facebook, people that I don't know that well. I'm very strategic with my Facebook. Okay. And I had to have a conversation with my best friend the other day. Okay. Because it was my birthday, and she thought she'd do a lovely post about all the times that we've got silly and drunk together and share it on my Facebook. And I'm like, you can't do that. This is my Facebook page. This is my business. But I have very strict things. It didn't go on my feed. No one saw it. Only our friends. So the friends that were on her page saw it, but they're my friends. That's fine. Then our mutual friends saw it. That's fine, and they all thought it's hilarious. But I didn't want everyone to see it. And so I've built it in a way that it shows what I want to show, and it is very much me. I don't hide much, but it was brutal. I was like, you're meant to be my best friend. If you're my best friend, then geez, who needs enemies? So I think and I do accept friends, lots of people. If I'm mutual friends with people, I have loads of people that are in the business world. If I see and look at their connections, I might not have met them, and but that's how I'm treating it. And I mean, my father-in-law is like, have you seen how many likes you've had on your post? I've been watching it all day. It's ridiculous. Do you know that many people? And it's really funny because it's not, they're using Facebook for what it's initially intended for. But I know that the reach for business is going to be so much better on my personal page than if I do a business page. So that's how I'm doing it. So that's part of my strategy. And that's why I consistently get leads through, the way I get leads is through Facebook Messenger. People reach out through Facebook Messenger. That's my choice. It's not everyone's choice. If you're going to start from scratch with a new profile, you've got to think of all those years. People have seen me go to college at weekends or pass my past exams, like back in my 20s. They've seen me have my 3 children on my face. They know me as a person, and I get it that it can be scary when you're new and putting yourself out there, especially, like I say, I've failed. People have seen, what's she doing now? She's not even doing that. And then she's gone back to it. Does she even know what she's doing? They've seen the ups, the downs, the good, the bad, the ugly, and that's fine. And now things are going really well, and they're seeing that as well. Okay. And they're like, oh my God, you've done this for so many years. So must I be an expert now? Finally. So I think it's a case of, I get it. And it's nerve-wracking. I was explaining yesterday to someone, I had some photos done in 2018, personal branding photos. No one knew what personal branding was back then. And I hid them for 2 years. I didn't show anybody because I was nervous back then. And like what Zoe was saying, when our numbers were 0, this is a journey, but we have to start somewhere.
Yeah, I do. And you mentioned, right, like your strategic approach to using Facebook, and what you're going back to, right, is your values, understanding your values. Like, what am I here for? What do I need people to know about what I do? And what does that mean in terms of what I'm prepared to put out there to the world around me? Like, I can still be myself, but how am I going to do that? What you've also spoken about is, Ashley Leeds talks about this as much as other people in this space, like the know, like, and trust factor. All of those people who are in your network already know, like, and trust you. I mean, there might be some people maybe that like don't like you or whatever, because that's the way the world is. But those people are already kind of invested in the Joe Wood story. So if they're looking for somebody, they haven't got to build up rapport with somebody that they don't know, who they've just found from a Google search, because you're on their Facebook account and they're seeing stuff from you. So I
had a lead. Yeah, I had a lead from an ex-boyfriend who we split up just 2 weeks before I met Paul. And he reached out to me, and he's a director of an engineering company. And he said, I know you're the person. I need a bookkeeper in my firm. Can you find someone for me? That's the power of keeping all of those. If you don't like someone, of course you can remove them. If you see something, don't get me wrong, if I see something on someone else on my newsfeed and I don't like it, I'm not going to keep people that I don't like in my world. I'm not doing it. I only keep positive, and I like the people in there. So we still get the control. I've just got more people following me.
Yeah. Okay. Right. I know one of the things that's worked really well for you, Jo, is Facebook groups for reaching new potential clients. So one of the questions that comes up a lot is, like we say, go and be part of a community, like help people get to know you, use that, like go and join groups where your ideal client is and get known in that community. But how do you do that? Because can you go into those groups and post? Are you going to annoy the moderators who run those groups? What do you do so people can get to know you?
So at the beginning, I was talking to my clients about the groups that they were in, the clients that I really liked. And then, and also I've invested in other coaches and things, and talking to the people that were in those communities. What groups are you in? And being there. And then, because there was not many other, funny enough, bookkeepers investing in themselves to learn business skills. So I was able to join groups with other female entrepreneurs, and I'd be the only person in the group that was the bookkeeper. And then when this salon owner came along, and she was like, "Oh, I'm in this community," she just sent me a screenshot. Look at what I've just said about you in this community. And I was like, "Oh, wow, I love that. That sounds like a great community. What is it that you learned there?" And I said, "Do you know who owns it?" She was like, yeah, it's this person, that person. So I reached out to them personally and said, is there anything I can do to support you? And they were like, "Oh my goodness, yeah, we saw that post. That sounds amazing. Come in." And 3 years down the line, I'm still the finance expert in that community. But then recently, I've been added to a couple of others that the admins have invited me because they've seen what I'm doing, or they've said, "I've seen your Facebook page. I can see that you're at beauty events and things. Would you come and support our community?" So
it's a snowball, isn't it? It's like people talk and people talk and people talk, and it grows.
Yeah, and it's not quick. It's not. It takes effort. So I would never post in anybody's community about anything without their permission. And even now, I have never once sold a thing in that community. I've never once sold a thing in that community. The only time I did was when I paid the £2,000 to have the exhibition stand, and I was meant to go there and stand and talk. And all I did was book in discovery calls. I'm saying, let's see if we're a right fit for each other. But I've been in that group for so long. They knew me, and then they were already warm leads by the time I'm standing in front of them. And then it's about, I never go in and add them as friends, but they add me as friends. So now I've got loads of beauticians and salon owners in my Facebook, on my personal profile. They add me. I would never add them. It's long, it's hard, it's not easy, it's not a quick fix. It is putting out content. Also, I have a public profile as well, so that their mutual friends might comment and then they'll see it. So it's take now I go onto a salon owner and see if they come, they want to link with me, and I can see I've got like 200 mutual friends with them. That's the point that I'm getting to. I can't actually, I've got so many people that, and I know it sounds really strange, in my invite, like people that have added me as a friend. The list is too long for me to, because I get so many requests a day. But and I remember this actually when I was on that business course, which was about how to build an online business. And then I remember the day I got an invite from somebody that I didn't know, and I went, "I've had an invite for someone I didn't know." And the lady went, "Yeah, just wait. It's gonna be mad." And now if I open it up, I just go through, and anyone that I've got over 100 mutual friends with, I look at their profile and then I add them. But no one, and that's yeah. My husband looked at it the other day, was like, "Who are all those?" And I was like, "Yeah, I know, it's mad."
Wow, that's amazing. So in terms of like content that you're sharing, this has become like me interviewing you, Jo, but like just from a practical point of view, it just makes so much sense, doesn't it? From like when you think about like the kind of content that you're sharing on Facebook, you're not sharing in the Facebook groups, but the groups are helping you to grow your connections, because people then want to connect with you because they learn to trust you. That helps you grow your audience. And you're not necessarily posting on your fan page or your business page, you're posting on your personal profile. What kind of things are you sharing there? Like, you've obviously said what you will not share and what you don't want to be tagged in, but what kind of things do you share there?
I share if I'm going to events. I share if I'm watching a TV program that I really like. I share about doing things with the kids. I'll do loads of posts about my family over Christmas because we'll all be getting together, and I always, I will do that, or about food, about like going out with my husband. I'm just me. Like I just share. I don't do loads of posts about anything to do with book. I will share that I'm going to the House of Lords with Zero to lobby about small businesses, and I'll share that I'm going to Accounting Web, or I'm share that me and Zoe have got a book, and all of these things. But I don't ever say, "Would you like some help with your VAT?" I don't say. I'll say I'm at the salon because I've got loads of salon clients, and the reason I've got loads of salon clients is because I love being a customer of salon, and here I am bringing my girls as well. Like I will share who I am constantly, like anybody else, and I don't ever think of it like, what's the angle? Now I might do on LinkedIn, I might change it a little bit for LinkedIn, but on Facebook, it's just what everyone else would want to see. Is no one. I don't think I've ever shared anything about really like, do you need bookkeeping services?
Okay, so interesting. So this podcast is about selling through Facebook. So you said earlier that you're like, the biggest way you sell through Facebook is like people that you already know, making introductions to people, and then you like having conversations over Messenger. What do you do when people get in touch with you? Do you reach out to people on Messenger, or do you wait for them to get in touch? What happens?
They reach out to me. It might be as well, I get tagged. One of the main things is I get tagged. If someone else in another group is asking for a bookkeeper, I will be tagged. So then I can go in and share my Calendly link. But otherwise it's just people. I have to check my message requests because there might not be friends. And so someone might have reached out and said, I'm looking for that. So it's incoming. It's called attraction marketing. It's not like the old school direct sales or anything. And I'm not saying there's anything wrong with that. It's just my preferred method. And it's taken years. I started this in April 19, but I've been in the industry for so much longer. So people know. And that's why I think it's really great having your personal profile, because people know who you are, what you're about, what your values are. So they already know whether they like you. And then when you start sharing that you're, watching this podcast or listening to this podcast while you're out on a dog walk, or if you've, you're in this community and it's really nice to have some business besties, things like just being you, people kind of get what it is, and sharing. Like, I mean, if you've passed an exam, that's a triumph. Why would you not share that you've done that? Or if you've got your practice license or anything, it's part of your journey in this strange thing called life. Share it.
I love that. I think that we've all got some triumphs. And what you said about like posting about your family and what you're doing over Christmas, it's coming back to we've spoken about it in lots of different places around like the core kind of content you're sharing. You bring it back to your values. Like Joe's key value is family. Like that's what everything comes back to that. So I think it's like deciding what are the right things for me to be talking about, and then what's the right kind of content for me to be sharing to make that happen. Final question, Joe. Have you ever used paid ads on Facebook to find clients? Would you? No.
I've never have. We've built this whole community. We've managed to get nearly 11,000 people in a community without any paid ads. I think the beauty of when we understand, especially like with working with Meta, what it's looking for, as in they want authentic, they want real, they want, some of the funniest, I mean, I love TikTok these days, and some of the funniest things are just like kids saying words wrong, or just people falling over on the ice. I mean, I just can't get enough of it. So just these funny real life snapshots. That's how people engage with other people. People want to engage. They don't want you to be too polished. They don't want you to be too perfect. They don't want you to have so much knowledge that it scares them to have a conversation with you. That's the reality. They're happy. No one wants to know the intricacies of VAT and tax. They want to know that you know enough that you can do the job, and that you're you enjoy it. I think that's a good thing as well. Like, you've got to show that you're having fun. When we see some people that like to share their dirty laundry in public, and for me, that is nothing you're ever going to see from me. Me and Zoe are very much like that around gossip and things like that. We just don't do that. It's not our bag, and that's absolutely fine. I wouldn't ever put onto Facebook a really controversial post that's going to divide everybody. That's not me. You won't have that when you have a conversation with me. I'll be honest and tell you my view, but I would never bring it up to cause controversy. And other people do that, and that gets them engagement, and that's absolutely fine if that's what you want. But again, it make me feel icky, and I don't like feeling icky, so I just do what feels right. And you've got to find that thing, that sweet spot for yourselves.
Amazing. Oh, well, thank you everyone so much for watching today. That was really interesting to learn about what you do, Jo. So thank you everyone for being here. We are going to be taking a bit of a break for Christmas holidays, but we're going to be back. Come and join us in the Six Figure Bookkeepers Club. There's still be loads happening in there over the holidays, and you've got a great supportive community for you there. And we will see you in the new year for another episode of the Bookkeepers Podcast. Take care. Bye.
Bye.